Let's learn a further 3 chords so that you can start playing even more songs and really start motoring on in this beginner's course. So we've got a C chord, a G chord, and an F major 7. Okay, so the C chord is on screen now. You take your first finger or index finger, put it on the first fret on the B string. Notice it's nice and close to the fret marker. It's not here or here, it's there, almost touching the bit of metal, pointing towards your face. Middle finger on the 2nd fret on the D string, noticing that you're not collapsing the middle finger, trying to keep your joints locked up. If you've got your thumb over here, that's cool, but just make sure you're not pulling down. If you can find it easier to push forward. The thumb is quite subjective though. The ring finger on the 3rd fret on the A string, like this. Now, this is probably one of the most challenging chords that you've had to learn so far because you're having to stretch over 3 frets, okay? So it's quite challenging that you've got 1, 2, 3, oh, I've really got to stretch. And you will find having to just pull your elbow into your body and just turning your wrist slightly, okay? Make sure you're on your fingertips. With the C chord, usually the ones that most people mute is this D string down here. The open G is sometimes okay, but sometimes that can be choked. Bottom string's usually all right, but then that string's muted. Now the reason why that happens is, first of all, you're not used to stretching your fingers out over 3 frets. And the only way to get better at that is to keep putting down the chord. I've given you loads of exercises and tips now that you can be choosing to make your chords faster and just putting it down and down and down the whole time. But just keep checking your chord to check for tone. The most thing with C is collapsing these fingers, so just push forward. So that's your C chord. Changing from C, we're going to go to a G. Now, this is where my teaching method is a little different to other guitar teachers. A lot of guitar teachers will tell you to do your G this way, which, by the way, is absolutely fine. And if you want to do it this way, you can. But I'm going to be showing it to you both ways initially. But this is the way I prefer for you to do it and how I teach my complete beginners. Because in the long run, although it may feel harder to start with, it actually makes changing to G a lot faster because a lot of songs change from C to G like this, whereas the other way is like that. Anyway, to change to the G, move the middle finger up 1 string from the D string to the A string on the 2nd fret. Move the ring finger up also to the 3rd fret on the thickest string. So this was the C we had. Move these fingers up. It'll feel a bit weird having to push your ring finger up above your middle, but that's what needs to be done. And finally, your little finger goes on the thinnest string on the 3rd fret. And for this chord, you strum all 6. If I didn't mention for C, you strum the bottom 5. G is all 6. So that's why this chord change, can you see my little finger? It's not doing this. You will find your little finger will do that when you do a C into the palm of your hand. If you get the little finger ready, then all you do is you just move this middle ring up and put the little finger down. So here's C and here's G. Now G this way, usually most people can get it sounding okay. The one thing that feels weird is the pinky, and sometimes the pinky can be muted or not sounding right, but just press that little bit harder. But that eventually, even though it will feel really weird to use those fingers, will be easier to change. The other way of doing it is you lift up everything, put index finger on 2nd fret on the A string, middle finger on 3rd fret on the thickest, and ring finger on 3rd fret on the thinner string. Initially that feels easier because you're using the more dominant fingers, the stronger fingers, whereas another reason for doing G like this when you're a beginner is you're actually strengthening the weaker fingers earlier on rather than having to wait for more intermediate things. So here's C, here's G. So please try G that way. And the last chord is F major 7. Put your index finger back where it was for C on the 1st fret on the B string. Middle finger on the 2nd fret on the G string. And ring finger, once again, 3 fret stretch like C, on the 3rd fret on the D string, and strum the bottom 4 strings. Now this is what I like to call the easy beginner's F. Technically it's called an F major 7, especially when you strum the bottom E string, which you should be doing. Once again, with this chord, it's a bit like C, so you'll find that the ring finger might want to collapse. What I'm going to say is push the wrist forward on the fingertips. If this index finger is in the middle of the fret, bring it closer and strum the bottom 4 strings. Sometimes easy to get C and F major 7 confused because they're very similar, but just remember that with the F major 7 you fill in the gap. With a C there's a gap here on this open E string, G string. With an F major 7 there isn't. And then just start changing between the chords like we've done throughout this course. You should be getting used to that idea of how to change chords now, and the process to go through to get faster at them. So you go C, G, middle and ring pinky, F major 7, bring this middle and ring down past C, down here and index down. And back to C, just lift up the middle and ring. G, F major 7. Okay, and we've got a great song, Let It Be, coming up for you to start actually putting it into these chords into a song.